Hi, thank you for joining our Friday weekly lunch and learn. Every Friday at noon, Sierra Club Iowa chapter goes live to give you an environmental update. And this week we need to talk about forest and fruit tree property taxes. It's something that we've discussed last year and it's continued into this year. And we have some action steps that you can take to help make sure that we're protecting forest and fruit tree reserves. So I'm going to hand it over to Pam and she's going to give us an update on the bill and what you can do to take action.
Thank you, Jess. So every year, it wouldn't be a legislative session if we didn't talk about forest and fruit tree reservations and property taxes. So this year's no different from the last. But there's a little different spin we need to talk about. So let's first start out and talk about what a forest reservation and a fruit tree reservation is, and then talk about the property tax exemptions. A forest reservation is a contiguous area of not less than 2 acres that has trees on it. And it has to be not less than 200 growing trees per acre. And if there are buildings on the property, then 1 acre is deducted from the exemption. So if you happen to have a shelter or a shed or your house surrounded by trees, 1 acre is taken off of the property that can be exempted. Not more than 1/5 of the trees can be removed in a year, except if they die naturally. And the exemption lasts as long as the forest reservation exists. So if all the trees are cut down, then it goes back on the property tax rolls as regular property. Now, a fruit tree reservation has a little different set of requirements. It's not less than 1 acre or more than 10 acres of fruit trees. And that includes apple, crab, plums, cherry, peaches, and pear trees. At least 40 apple trees per acre or 70 other fruit trees per acre have to be planted on the property. If one of the trees dies or is removed, the owner has 1 year to replace it in order to maintain the 40 apple or 70 other species of tree. The trees have to be cared for and annually pruned and sprayed. And the exemption lasts 8 years after planting. And the thought is after 8 years, the trees will be producing fruit that be taken to the market. Now, the livestock are not allowed to graze on the forest or fruit tree reservation, and it cannot be used for other economic gain outside of timber or fruit. So there are some restrictions, but the idea is if it's planted in trees, it gets a property tax exemption. Now, the current exemption means that no property taxes are paid, but in 2025 and this year, efforts are to eliminate the exemption and to create a special property tax on forest and fruit tree reservations. And it's going to be called a program fee instead of a property tax. It's the same thing. So let's dig into what this program fee is. It's based upon where the reservation is located and where the landowner lives or the homestead. Now, the program fee or property tax will be $2 per acre if the forest or fruit tree reservation is in the same county as where the landowner lives. Now, it's $3 per acre if the forest and fruit tree reservation is in a contiguous county to where the landowner lives. So the landowner wouldn't be living in the county where the forest or fruit tree reservation is, but in a neighboring bordering county. Now, a formula is used to determine the program fee if those two conditions don't exist. So if the forest or fruit tree reservation is in the city limits, or if the landowner and the reservation are on 2 separate counties and they're not contiguous. And the formula is based on the average property taxes due in the county with the most forest and fruit tree reservations and the average corn suitability rating. And so they have a formula that they work out to determine the program fee. The Sierra Club opposes this bill, and we're going to dig into some of the benefits of forest reservations and why they're important. So landowners should be encouraged to invest in forested properties and keep them forested. And that includes granting a property tax exemption on the forest. Woodlands and forest reservations are important to Iowa's environment. And we suffered in the last few years two serious situations that have reduced our forest canopy. One is the derecho in 2020 damaged a large number of trees in Iowa. And the second thing that's happening is the emerald ash borer is destroying the ash trees in the state. And so we're losing a forest canopy because of those two situations. Forests protect highly erodible land, and some land should simply not be put into row crops, and that's where forests come into play. By protecting highly erodible land, soil is kept out of our rivers and streams and lakes, and thus improves water quality. And the other thing that happens with soil and water is that it destroys fish habitat. And by burying rocks and pebbles, the fish habitat is destroyed. Trees can help cleanse the air, and they capture carbon dioxide. Forests also provide habitat for both game and non-game animals, and they provide beauty and attract tourists in the fall who enjoy looking at the fall leaves. So it's an economic engine to a certain extent. There's value in landscape for things other than crops, and consequently, the property tax exemptions are valuable in keeping the forests intact. We see property tax exemptions for other purposes, so it's not out of the ordinary to provide a property tax exemption for forest and fruit tree reservations. And themselves, forest and fruit trees are an economic activity in this state. And so there is a value to having forest and fruit trees. Now, in Iowa, we have seen about 80% of our forests and woodlands that have just disappeared, and that's on the next screen. And the woodlands have been lost due to farming, housing, economic activities that have destroyed them. And in Iowa's state code, we have a REAP law. It's Resource Enhancement and Protection Law, and it laid out how much we have lost in Iowa. And we've lost 99 and 9/10% of our prairies, 98% of our wetlands, 80% of our woodlands, 50% of our topsoils, and a large number of species of wildlife we've lost. And so it's important to keep what woodlands we have intact in the state. And that's where the exemption comes into play. Now, on the next screen, we'll talk about the bill and what we can do. SF633 passed through the Senate in 2025, and the vote was 31-14. It's now started to move its way through the House, and the Ways and Means Committee has been assigned the bill and will be looking at it. And their emails are at the bottom of the screen, and we'll be putting them in the chat. And you should also contact your own legislator to make sure that they oppose the bill. Now, we should encourage forest and fruit tree reservations and continue the exemption. And it should not matter where you live with respect to where your forest and fruit tree reservation is located when calculating the program fee that is paid on the property. We oppose paying the fee, but it certainly shouldn't be based on your residence and the location of the reservation. So we urge a no vote on SF 633. And with that, I'll entertain questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. And for those of you watching, I put the email addresses and the for all the people on the Ways and Means Committee, and then how to look up your legislator in the comment section to make it easy for you to just copy and paste that list. The one question we have, Pam, is do you expect this bill to come up soon?
Well, the end of the session is scheduled to be the 21st of April. So we only have a few weeks to deal with this and fight back. So it could come up very quickly.
So please contact your legislators now. Thank you very much, Pam, for this information. We'll be back next Friday at noon for another weekly Lunch and Learn with the Sierra Club Iowa chapter. We hope you have a great weekend, and if you hear anything from your legislators, let us know. Thanks. Bye.